Mais d'abord, on se transporte à New York au Carlton Arms, un hôtel conçu par des artistes où l'étrange côtoie un imaginaire débridé.
The Carlton Arms Hotel is a pretty extreme hotel. Once you get here, it's a surprise.
Bienvenue à Hôtel et Resto d'Exception.
Welcome to the Carlton Arms. One of the reasons that people stay here is because of the price. It's extremely inexpensive for New York City, and it's really well located. The Carlton Arms Hotel is a pretty extreme hotel. Unless you know about it or have really heard about it, and even if you have heard about it, once you get here, it's a surprise.
Vous êtes à la recherche d'un hôtel luxueux au design moderne et épuré où toutes les chambres se ressemblent? Vous n'êtes pas au bon endroit. Sortez avant de faire une crise de panique. Par contre, si vous adorez les graffitis new-yorkais, vous serez séduit par la décoration anarchique et complètement folle du Carlton Arms. Les artistes ont envahi l'hôtel et y ont laissé leur marque partout où c'était possible. Et ici, pour faire changement, ils ont pu le faire sans porter la cagoule.
The place is about 160 years old, the building, and it's always been a hotel. This whole neighborhood, it's sort of nameless. It's Four Corners, it's Gramercy Park, it's Flatiron, Turtle Bay, Rose Hill. It's kind of a non-defined neighborhood. So it was a hotel for traveling salesmen. And over time, this became a really pretty desperate neighborhood. It was buildings and businesses were being abandoned, and New York went through kind of a depression in the early 70s. And this hotel became better known amongst hookers and drug addicts. And then slowly, as the neighborhood evolved, the hotel kind of evolved with it to all the glamour you see before you now.
Vous aurez sans doute deviné qu'il est préférable de prendre le mot « glamour » au deuxième degré pour éviter la déception. À partir du hall d'entrée, un escalier étroit vous mènera vers les corridors tout aussi étroits de cet hôtel, autrefois louche et malfamé, maintenant devenu un véritable musée d'art moderne. Avouons-le, l'endroit n'est plus malfamé, mais encore un peu louche.
When Eddie took over about 30 years ago, it was a really desperate place, and he hung with a group of artists. So when the artists came, it looked like somebody actually cared about the place, and slowly it took on new life.
Mais dis-nous, John, depuis que les artistes ont pris possession de l'hôtel, combien de chambres ont-ils décorées en laissant aller leur créativité débridée? 2, 3, une douzaine?
54 rooms, and then we have 4 hallways, and then 4 public bathroom areas. It's not the Waldorf, it's more like a youth hostel. You have shared bath, there's no telephone, there's no television, but there's fantastic art on the walls.
I think that this place is unique. I think it has the wow factor. I think it's like a living, evolving piece of art. I think it's not just the paintings that are on the walls or whatever is on the walls or in the rooms. My name is Rodney Dixon, and I'm an artist living in Brooklyn, New York. The room that I did, it's about time, really. It's marking off time, marking off lines. Which they say people do in prison or on desert islands or something like that. Thankfully, I've never been in either to find out for sure. So it's days passing by, and I'm thinking about the people who stay in the room, all the different people. Doing these lines is kind of contemplative, and it is boring, but after a while, doing this repetitive task, you kind of get into it. And you don't want to stop. It's meditative, and that was also part of my concept for the room.
My name is Alexandra Volkovich. I'm an artist. I felt very intrigued by this place because I think it's a unique opportunity to create an environment where people will live in, surrounded by my art, by what I do. And so this suited me perfectly. New York is such a crazy place. I wanted to do something that can calm people down a little bit, maybe like a forgotten room. And also I worked with paint to create the effect of something of also a faded tone from the past. Yeah, and use the crystals or this technique to create an effect of crystals. So I like to mimic nature with found materials and man-made materials.
Then there's some rooms that freak people out more than others. There's one room that we just have to dismantle now because it's just kind of withering away, but it had a fake bug collection. It was sort of a gentleman's club, science lab looking room, and women were freaked out by that room. I found so many women that just wouldn't stay there because of the bugs on the walls.
Ok, ça commence à être inquiétant. Sans doute serait-il utile de nous rassurer en précisant à quel type de clientèle s'adresse cet étrange hôtel.
It's for people who want something original and truly unique, yeah, out of like what you can't find anywhere else, and that's definitely the case in this place, in the Carlton Arms Hotel.
We get a lot of older people now, families, and lots of students. This is one of the few rooms that still has the original clawfoot bathtubs. I think regardless of what the hotel really looks like or condition of the walls, if people feel safe and taken care of, they're fine.
There's all kinds of levels of art and approaches to this concept, and I think that's what makes it so extreme, because people do really crazy stuff in these rooms.
This one was done by Jim Belgier. It feels like rather than looking at a painting, you're inside one of his paintings. There's probably been about 100 artists who've been through here. We try to keep the rooms up and try to be as faithful to the artist's intention as we can be, but sometimes it's just kinder to redo the room. Eventually it's just no longer their work when we've repaired or repainted so many times. So some rooms have been done 5 or 6 times. We pretty much assure an artist that a room can be here at least 2 years.
I love this idea. Then I become part of the evolution too in that way, and time passing by. And I could be coming here to do a room whenever I'm 70 or whatever, you know? So I've got to try to find some ideas to do in a hotel room every few years.
This was done by a young British artist. And it's very cartoony. This is fun for the kids.
You know, a lot of stuff gets replaced, but some stuff stays. So that's part of the evolution of the place.
And I think the first entire room was done by an artist named Brian Damage. And it's a scene of Atlantis. There's bottom of an ocean, a submarine sort of crashed there, and then several mermaids swimming around looking at themselves. Sadly, Brian was one of the early folk to succumb to AIDS. So we also want to, he's one of the few artists that's no longer with us, so we also want to keep it as a tribute to him. Plus, it's a fantastic room. So now we become a bit of a theme hotel. When guests come, they get to choose the room that they want. We'll give them 5 or 6 keys, and they can take a little tour and decide which room they're most comfortable with.
Part of the art concept should be to take into account it's a hotel, not an art gallery. So you probably shouldn't make a room that's too terrifying or for people to want to sleep in or something, you know.
When we have an artist come to do a room, one of the things that we emphasize is just please try and remember people have to stay in this room.
In my case, I live in New York, so I don't need to stay here. I just come and do my work and go home. I enjoy the fact that other people get to experience it, but I want to experience it too.
You would never forget coming to the Carlton Arms. It's yeah, a unique, extreme, wonderful experience. Very moving in some ways. Yeah.